right. Well, it's great to see you all. Thank you for coming today. It's an exciting week. A lot of things have happened this week. Unless you're not paying any attention to the news, I'm sure you've seen the announcement about North and South Korea. I mean, that's a huge deal. Yeah, so that's really awesome. Of course, we still have to see where that's going to go. And what's going to develop over time. But even just taking that one step to just say, hey, we're going to end the war, that's a really big deal. So it's awesome. We get a chance to be living at a time where we can see, big positive things coming about in our world, not just bad things. So I just want to welcome everybody. My name's Pastor Mike. I'm emceeing today, and I'd love to welcome you all. I'd like to invite you to join me in prayer to start off our service. Good morning, our most beloved Heavenly Parent. Thank you for the opportunity that we all are coming here today to gather as your children, as a family. We're so grateful to be able to stand here together, hearing one another's voices, singing together the purpose and the value that we have as a community to work together to build this new world for you, Heavenly Parent. We recognize that this world that we live in is so many problems. It's not the world that you wanted to create. This is not your will. It's not what you wanted, and it pains you every day to see all the suffering and all the problems. We're so grateful that we could see some positive things happening in the world, like this new agreement between North and South Korea. It brings us hope. It brings us new, restores our hope in humanity, Heavenly Parent, to see people coming together instead of all the news and all the times we see people hurting one another, Heavenly Parent. We're so grateful that we could be living at this time, and I pray that we can also be a part of it, that we can be working in our own individual lives, in our families, that we can be a part of recreating this world, building a better world for you, Heavenly Parent. I know that our speaker today is going to be sharing about how we can do that in our own families and why it's important, what we can realistically do. And I'm just grateful that we can all be here together. Please be here. I really pray that we can invite you based on our hearts of wanting to have you here, wanting to serve one another, really wanting to be here. Open our hearts to what it is that you want to speak to us today, that you can really be here in our presence and really work through us and speak through us, Heavenly Parent. I offer this prayer in the name of Michael and Donie Hendrick, a blessed central family. Amen and Aju.
Thank you, everybody. Good morning. I feel like it's been a long time since I've been able to be up here and speak with you. We've had so many awesome guests, and we had the youth service, and it's really awesome when we're able to turn over the pulpit and share it with so many great people. But I'm happy to be here and happy to have my turn. So, as many of you know, we're doing our sermon series now on where are we going? And we have a vision statement that we've created. And for those of you who were here a couple of weeks ago, you've seen it already, but I want to share it in its entirety with you again today, since some of you may not have seen it. And I think it's just good to hear it again and again as we get used to it. So, but today's topic is, how can I build a God-centered family? And why is that important? So this is one of the sections of our vision statement, and I'll be zeroing in on that today. But at first, I'd like to just share the whole statement with you again. So our vision, we are a place where people from all walks of life can find love, acceptance, inspiration and guidance, purpose, joy, and fulfillment. We are a church that isn't a church, but a family where the experience of community, love, and God's grace abound. We are every person growing to spiritual maturity through studying God's word, prayer, making devotions, small groups, and taking on a ministry to care for the needs of and give to others. Wasn't Reverend Jackson's message last week amazing? That was fantastic. We are equipping every person for a significant ministry by helping them discover the gifts and talents that God gave them. We are building God-centered marriages and families that are the dwelling place of God and the cornerstone of a healthy society. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We are sharing with the people of the Denver area truth that has been hidden in the Bible until now, God's original purpose of creation, how humanity fell away from God, and our path to returning to God's ideal and dream. And we own a beautiful and modern building that serves as the hub for all of our many family and faith-based activities going on throughout the week. Lastly, we are a community that embodies the legacy of living for the sake of others and building the kingdom of heaven here on earth that our founders, Reverend and Mrs. Moon, whom we call the true parents, have passed on to us. So, this is today. We are building God-centered marriages and families that are the dwelling place of God and the cornerstone of a healthy society. So I was really happy to have this topic to talk about. It's a topic really close to my heart. I think I've shared a couple of times that my own mission for my life, I've discovered, is to create a truly loving family where it's like abundantly loving family, where the love is palpable between myself and my husband, and between us and our children, and between the twins and the girls, and it's just like, it overflows, and then it pulls in other people. You know, it was interesting, growing up as a child, I didn't know what I wanted in my life. I couldn't picture life beyond graduation from high school, to be honest. I couldn't picture, I just didn't know. It was like a blank after that. I actually had this thought a couple times, maybe I'm gonna die when I'm 18, because I can't, what's beyond that? I don't know. But I began to, I participated in, it used to be called STF, and now it's the Generation Peace Academy. But I had an opportunity once. They gave me a whole day to sit in the park and come up with a mission statement for myself. I had like 5 hours. And it was hard because I had to think about, what do I want for my life? I could focus on what I'm doing now, and I could put all my effort into it and be enthusiastic, but I didn't know where it was going to take me. But that was the first time when I began to think, what beyond this, what do I really want? And that was when I first caught this glimpse of, more than anything else, this is what I want. I want a family that truly has God's love in it, and that people can't stay away from. They just want to be part of it. And that everything that I do should be an expression of that, or participate in that goal. Even for me, pastoring is in a way just one more way to bring God into my family and to share that love with other people. So this is a topic about building God-centered families and marriages. This is a topic that could be talked about infinitely. And if you are familiar with our founders, with Reverend and Mrs. Moon, you know that is true. I remember Reverend Moon just talking for hours and hours about the relationship between husband and wife and what that means for your children. We've also given many messages about this in the past, and you can rest assured that we will give many more messages about it in the future. But for this series, I only have one Sunday, so I have to really think about what is most important today. I have to ask God, what can I share today that is meaningful with this? I will say you will hear more about the family and relationships here in this faith than you will hear in pretty much any other church or religion out there. And that's something I really love about our faith. And so why is that? Why do we focus on it so much? Because we believe that God's ideal for the whole world, for all of history, actually begins in the family. Healthy, happy families are God's original ideal, from what God wanted from the very beginning. It's actually the driving force behind why God created everything. And I'll talk more about that. If that sounds amazing or mind-blowing to you, or you don't quite understand that, I'll touch more on that in just a little bit. But in that sense, the family is like God's building block to create a God-centered community, a society, nation, and world. So listen to that. The family is the building block. I think that in itself is pretty revolutionary. We're not saying that men are the building block or women are the building block. The government is not the building block. Churches are not the building block. Some of you might be surprised to hear a pastor say that, but churches are not what holds society together. And not schools. All of those things are important, but what will really make or break society? It's the family. Because the family is where you learn everything. It's where we become who we will be in the future. It's where we learn our relationships. And most of it happens within the first 5 years of life. I have this quote. Actually, if you were to go online and type in the first 5 years of life, you can find so much research, so much evidence that what happens in these formative years of your life basically create your future. So I have a little bit to share with you. 90% of a child's brain is developed by the age of 5. And you could just take that and think, oh, well, then it's 90% of the size it's going to be, okay. But no, there's so much that's going on in your brain in those first 5 years. All of your neural pathways, 90% of your neural pathways are developed. The way that you think, the way that you process things, the way that you see the world. So much of that is already established by the time you're 5 years old. The first 5 years of a child's life are fundamentally important. They are the foundation that shapes children's future health, happiness, growth, development, and learning achievement at school, in the family and community, and in life in general. Recent research confirms that the first 5 years are particularly important for the development of the child's brain, and the first 3 years are most critical in shaping the child's brain architecture. Early experiences provide the base for the brain's organizational development and functioning throughout life. They have a direct impact on how children develop learning skills as well as social and emotional abilities. And where does this first 5 years of our life take place? It's in the family, right? Sometimes you go to preschool, but most of that, those first 3 years, they're talking about even the first 3 years as being so crucially important. All of that takes place in the home environment with our families, our parents, grandparents maybe, and siblings. So some of you may be thinking, well, shoot, I'm screwed. My first 5 years of life weren't all that great. Maybe some of you had a rough start. I'm not saying that you can't change. I'm not saying that you're doomed. But I think that all of you will agree that your early childhood has had an undeniable impact on your life and who you are now. And perhaps for you, true love and easy relationships don't just come naturally. The crazy thing is we think that's normal. We think that's just the way life is. Life is tough. My uncle was a great guy, but he had a challenging life. He went through several relationships. He fought in the Vietnam War and suffered from alcoholism issues and things. And he had this saying, it was like, life is tough and then you die. And I don't think most of us will say that out loud, but I think that some part of us feels like, yeah, life is hard. That's just the way it is. And we think that's normal. listen to this quote from Reverend Moon. Because we were born in love and lived our lives in love, love is also the only thing that remains with us when we are in our graves. We receive our lives in love, live by sharing love, and return into the midst of love. It is important that we live our lives in a way that we can leave a legacy of love behind us. Isn't that different? But he's talking about the way that it was meant to be, right? This is what God wanted for all of us, to be born into families of incredible love, to grow learning love in our relationships, and to expand that, not just in our family, but into our community, society, nation, and world. And that by the time we pass away into the eternal world, we're just living and breathing love. Reverend Moon often talks about how when we're in the womb, we're developing our lungs. Why are we developing our lungs? We don't need them in the womb. We don't breathe air in the womb. But we're developing it for when we are born. Because once we're born into this world, we need lungs to breathe air. We can't survive. But that's not it. He's saying while we're in this world, we need to be developing love. We need to learn how to live and breathe love so that, because oxygen in the spiritual world, after this life, our oxygen there is love. And it's hard to breathe if you can't love. So this is the original ideal. So the question is, how can I do that? How can I build a God-centered family? Actually, the answer is kind of implied in the title. It needs to be God-centered, not self-centered. A challenge that many families face is that many times it's a couple of individuals that have gone ahead and made a relationship and started a family, when the most important person in their life is still themselves. And what are they looking for? They're looking for love, right? Aren't we all looking for love? But it's not a surprise. How many people in their life have experienced this true love growing up in their families? How many people experience love when they go into college? How many people experience, love when they enter the workforce? It's not really something you equate, right? But this is how we were designed. We were designed to experience love in every facet of our life. So most of us end up walking around with, I would call it a God-sized hole in our heart. Most of us are walking around with a God-sized hole in our heart, and we're trying to fill it with all the things that don't really fit. Nothing can really fit that God shape. So unfortunately, when most people go into a marriage, they're still looking for someone to fill that hole. And when two people are looking for each other to fill their holes, how many holes get filled? None. And so then what comes out of that? There's discontent, right? I want to give this, but I want to receive it. It's not happening. There's frustration, leads to resentment. And then this cycle continues. Does that resonate with anybody? Okay. So the key is we need to go to God, and we need to put God at the center. We need to go to God so that we can love our spouse the way that God sees and loves our spouse. We need to go to God so that we can love our children with the same eyes and heart that God loves our children with. We also need to love our parents. Young people out there, we need to also love our parents, not just because of what they've done for me or what they haven't done for me, but with the same kind of heart and love that God loves our parents. When we do this, I would be so bold as to say that God's love is actualized. God's love becomes real here on this earth. What would we call that? Could I dare say it's heaven on earth? Maybe? So isn't it interesting that we actually find what we want the most when we take the focus off of what we are wanting to get for ourselves? The whole point here is that the family is meant to be the dwelling place of God. I'll take the example of an artist. When an artist creates art, you can usually tell who the artist is by looking at the art, right? For those of you who are into classical paintings, if you see a Van Gogh painting, you don't have to read his signature to know that's Van Gogh, right? Salvador Dali, anybody? Nobody else paints like Salvador Dali. You just see it and you know, oh, that's the Salvador Dali. I had this experience. I was listening to the radio once, and the song came on, and I had never heard it before, but I was like, that's Red Hot Chili Peppers. Right? Don't they have this unmistakable rhythm and beat, and you just know who it is. You don't have to know that they wrote the song. Nobody has to tell you that to know that that's who wrote the song. So how can we do that? It's because everything an artist creates is an expression of who they are. So let's transfer that to God. God, as an artist, spent eons and eons, 6 biblical days, but eons and eons creating this world and everything in it, right? The last thing that God created was human beings. And it wasn't just like, all right, human beings, pew, I'll just like spatter you across the earth. No, he started with a family, right? Adam and Eve, their family. It was the last thing that God created. And then God said, it is good. And he rested. So this family was the culmination. It wasn't just like, when am I going to make the family beginning and, it doesn't matter to me. But no, there was a plan in all of it. And it culminated, right? The crux of it all was God's family. So the family is like God's expression on earth, the living expression of God on earth. You know, a lot of Christians talk about Jesus being God incarnate. But that is what all of us are supposed to be through our families. And I would say probably all of you have caught glimpses of what that is like. Haven't you? Haven't you been able to catch a glimpse of what where you felt what God feels? Where you know that you're not just you're something much greater than this physical body and your own little thoughts and things going on inside of your head. I think one of my most profound experiences of feeling like I am not just me, I'm experiencing what God is experiencing, is when I gave birth to my twins. They were my first kids. You know, I was pregnant for 9 months. I was huge. And you know, before you have kids, you try to imagine what it's like and you prepare and everything, but you never know what it's going to be like until it actually happens. But when I gave birth to my twins, it was like I just tapped into this whole other love. I tapped in this whole other experience of power and the power of creation and seeing it right there in front of my eyes. I actually have this photo I want to share with you. I think Mike took it. I don't know. I was in another world at this point. But I have this photo I'm going to share with you, and it was, every time I look at it, I'm just transported back to this, like, it wasn't even me in my body. It was like, wow, love is amazing. I am amazing. God is amazing. My children are amazing. And I don't know what it means to you, but every time, oh, there it is. This was they were only like 5 minutes old here. It was the first time that I had both of them in my arms, and I was just overwhelmed with this like, wow, God's love. But I'm not the only person who's experienced that. I know. I think all of you have had those experiences where you've been able to feel like God is in you and God is loving through you. Do I dare say you are God incarnate? That's tough, but I think so. But at the same time, we don't live in that state 24/7, do we? And quite honestly, this ideal or that feeling can often feel very distant from where we are right now. Sometimes it can feel impossible to get there. But here's the hope, okay? Restoring families is what is going to create a better world. So this quote, that I shared with you from Ever Moon about being born in love and raised in love and returning, into love. Maybe this isn't our personal reality right now. But restoring our families to that is what is going to create a better world. So as you know, we don't just get born into these perfect families. We also inherit the challenges, fallen natures, and difficulties of the past. But when we can overcome one of those challenges, we restore something. What does the word restore mean? Anybody? Restore? Huh? Recreate? Okay. Bring back to its original state, right. So I looked it up online. The little simple definition is to bring back. But yeah, basically it's to get something back to the way it was before. If you were restoring a house, my sister and her husband just purchased this little bitty cute little house in Columbus, and they're restoring it, right? So when you restore a house, you fix the foundations, you paint it the same colors it was when it was first built. You try to get it looking the way it was when it was built, so you can feel like you were living in the house in that era or whatever it was when it was built. So when we can overcome a challenge, we also restore something. We take something in our life, in our family, and we bring it closer to the way that it should have been in the beginning. I'm going to use alcoholism as an example. I'm not going to ask you how many of you have histories of alcoholism in your families, but I know that this is something that many people have faced. I think many of you can agree, it's something that kind of runs in your family, right? It's not just like, oh, this person's an alcoholic very randomly. It's usually because their parent or their grandparent, great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents were alcoholics. But even if you come from that kind of a lineage or that kind of a family, if you take that on and you say, that is not going to be me, and I am not going to give that to my children, and you do whatever it is that you need to do to overcome your struggle with it, it's like that weight is lifted from your family and your future family. When we heal something within ourselves, it's not just us. We actually heal something in our families. We heal something in God, and we can heal something in this world. And we can pass on something better to our children into the future. So that is our goal here. That is why we want to share this vision statement with you. And if this sounds good to you, then you're in the right place. This is really a big part of our vision statement, and we are really committed to supporting individuals and families in creating these God-centered families, overcoming our challenges, restoring our families to the way that God to a place where God can dwell in them, and we can more and more experience this like tapping into God. Okay, so we're committed to supporting you in finding a way to fill your God-sized holes in your hearts, and bringing God into the heart of our families. So thank you very much. Please join me in prayer. Most beloved Heavenly Parent, good afternoon. Thank you so much for, another beautiful day. I really feel so much of your love through your creation, but today I felt so much love just by being here, by being among family, by being among friends, and by looking into the faces of the people here and knowing that I'm looking into your eyes at the same time, Heavenly Parent. I just thought of this quote from Les Miserables, where when we love another person, we see the face of God. And that's really what I felt this morning, Heavenly Parent. We know that you love each and every one of us with that incredible, boundless love. And you know that we don't come from perfect families. We have our challenges. We have our struggles. But you want to come into each one of our lives and fill that hole in our heart. You want to be there. You want to be in our families, and you want to create something that's beyond what any of us can imagine with our eyes, with our minds, with our eyes and minds that have been tainted and broken and struggling in this world. But you know what's better, and you know what's there waiting for us. So I pray that we can have courage as we go into this week. I pray we can have courage as we have relationships with our families and with our coworkers and with our schoolmates. I pray that we can have courage to go beyond what is expected of us, go beyond what is normal for this society, and that we can express your love. Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for your never-ending encouragement and patience and love for us. We want to offer this day, and I offer this prayer to you now in my name, Michael and Adonia Hendrick of the Blessed Central Family. Amen, and adieu. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor Adonia. It was a great message. Really grateful. So at this time, we're going to have a little bit of music, and you can reflect, you can pray, you can sit there and meditate, whatever you'd like to do. But we are going to have a basket coming down the middle. If you'd like to give an offering, if you haven't done so already, there's some envelopes in your seats. Okay, so I'm going to run through a few local announcements real quick. First of all, like I mentioned earlier, I'm doing a brief presentation right after service. It'll be at 12:15 in the French ministry room, which is right next to the cafe here. And I'm basically going to be going over who we are. What is our community about? Where are we going? What's our vision for the future? And especially if you're new, why you might want to be a part of it. And if you've been here a long time, maybe you might want a reminder about why we are here and what we're trying to do. Because it can be easy to forget. It's nothing wrong with you. It just happens to everybody. Happens to us. Later tonight, we also have a interreligious celebration of marriage. As you might see, we have the decorations up, that not typical of every week, right? But beautiful decorations in preparation for this rededication ceremony. You can renew your vows with couples of other faiths. And together we can build a global family that transcends race, religion, culture, and language. So later today, we're hoping to have couples from different churches, different faiths coming together, renewing their vows of marriage in front of God and pledging to rededicate their marriages before God. And so I expect it to be really beautiful, and all welcome to come. It'll be from 3 to 5. We are planning our 4th annual Spring Refresh. If you've never been to one of these, they're really awesome. We'll have things for the kids. We'll have a bouncy house with a water. Unfortunately, the park will not be open by then. I was really hoping it would be. It's not going to be open until June. But that will be a party in and of itself when it is open. It's just amazing how that park is shaping up. But on May 26th, on a Saturday, we will have our Spring Refresh. So we'll be doing some projects. We'll be cleaning up, basically, getting a fresh start for the year with the spring and everything. And one of the projects we're going to be doing is, because we have this super nice park coming in, we're going to tear down that little fence that's between us and the park, because don't need it anymore. And then next week, thank you so much to the Nye family for cooking and cleaning. Let's give them a hand. I also have a couple announcements that aren't on here. One is that we're working together with our national church to put on a marriage retreat from June 29th to July 1st. Some of you might have an anniversary at that time. And we are working together to really bring in high-quality speakers, to really talk about important topics, and just to create a rejuvenating experience for all our couples who attend. So we'll bring more details about that soon, but that'll be June 29th to July 1st, and it'll be at the Snow Mountain Ranch, right? We got the nicest lodge at Snow Mountain Ranch, and you don't have to cook your own meals like we've done in the past. It's a little bit step above what we've done, and really a great opportunity to invest and nurture your marriage. So, and we also have a couple people who, we love celebrating new life, right? We love celebrating when our community's growing and new people are coming and babies are born. Gilo and Kazuya just had a baby born. But we also, reality is, things come and go, and we have a couple people who are actually going to be leaving us soon. So we just want to give a recognition and just express our gratitude for their investment and just being a part of our community during the time that you guys have been here. So I guess I just would like you to stand up so that we could thank you and appreciate you. So Neil and Teresa first are going to be moving to Ohio, and you guys are really leaving. This is your last Sunday here, right? In 2 weeks. Okay, so it might be their last Sunday here, but they're moving on, and we wish them all the best in your guys' life and everything you do. Thank you. And Alfred, you go ahead. He's all the way in the back. But Alfred and Marianne, they're moving to California to live with Marianne's brother, who, And San Diego, sorry. What did I say? California. Yeah, okay, I wasn't wrong. All right. So Marianne's not here, but hopefully we can see her before they leave, and then they'll be back. They have a granddaughter being born in not too long. So yeah. And then Carlos, will you stand up? We all knew Carlos was leaving soon, but this is his last Sunday, and anyway, we're just really grateful for Carlos, even though he's leaving soon, but he gives us a lot of inspiration, because whenever we see somebody who, especially in your situation where you didn't like religion, and then you studied the divine principle, and then you could say with confidence that the best part of coming to America was that you learned the divine principle. That is amazing. And and yeah, we hope to see you again. So everyone, let's give him a round of applause. He's going to be joining his family in Nigeria, is that right? Cameroon, Cameroon. Yes. All right.